In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create these lines here, even if they're shorter or longer, on top of a bar chart dynamically. And as well, if we're hiding values, we want to make sure they nicely respond to each other as well. So let's start to look how we can do this. To do this, we're going to create, or first of all, make sure you have the boiler template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to have the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page. And of course, got a question, put it on Discord. All the links are in the description box. For this, I'm going to use some tricks, and this is not anymore part 1. I managed to figure it all out after multiple iterations. Anyway, so what we're going to do here first is we're going to have a few data sets here. In total right now, I'm going to put in 1, 2, and 3. So the last one, I'll just say this will be our total sales. This one will be the yellow sales. I'll get the yellow color here. That is the third one in line. Yellow. This will be blue, and the upper one will be red. However, it's the second one for blue. And the very top one, red. There we are. Save, refresh. There we are. Weekly sales need to be adjusted. Let's say here, red, save. So now we have this here. So what I want to do eventually is I want to have here the line exactly on top of this, and I'm going to remove or change this into years. That is the sample. That was the question. So we're going to say here, and then maybe 2023. That should be more than enough. Make sure they're matching. This is in the string value. Later on, we'll be using other items as a string value as well. So we have this here. What I could do is on the Y scale, put a comma, say grace, have it a bit of space, let's say 5 points. There we are. Alright, so what I want to do now is start to create one line first. So I'm going to copy this, paste that in there. We have the comma here. We'll say this line here, that's the only thing that makes it tricky. I'll be using 2020, making sure that the label is identical to the labels here. So once I did this, say refresh, we have that. Now I need to just convert that. We're going to say type equal line chart, the line, save. There we are. So next what I want to do here is I'm going to say here the order. As you can see here, we are underneath, and you might not see it here. If I say 1, 2, 3, and I'll just make this one a solid yellow, you'll see we are behind the bar. I'm going to change that by giving it a priority. So I'm going to say here order will be number 0. That will mean that everything else, or 0 is first, just like an index, and then the others order 1. I'll just copy this, comma, paste it to everyone else so it knows the priority. So it will draw first a line, and you will see that this line here will go here. As you can see here, it's the priority. So it will draw first a line and then everything else. So now we're on top. Alright, this works. So now we have some work to do here. So what I want to do here now is comma, create a custom plugin. So plugins, then I'm going to say here the line position, let's say line position here. And what I really want to do is basically recalculate or reset the coordinates of our x coordinate of these dots. I want to move it here basically. And then as well, it should be reacting if I hide certain values, so it will understand exactly what to do. So what I'm going to do here is constant line position. Then here the ID will be equal to line position. And then we're going to say here, make sure you say before data sets raw. Then chart, arcs, and plugin options. Then constant equals chart. And then we're going to say here, I'll be needing the CTX, and we're going to say here the data itself. So once I did this, what I want next is starting to get the position of our label. I want to get the label. As you can see here, everyone has their own label, so I'm going to loop through that, but I want to get this specific label of year. And this is the trick here, that we need those years that are matching with the label at the very top here. Anyway, I'll show you later on why. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, I need to know what is I need to create a new array, and this array I'll call our line labels. This will be data.data sets, and I'm going to say here the map method to create an array, and then we can say here for every data set index function arrow expression. Then what I would like to do here then is to loop through that. So say if we have data dot or data set dot type, if this is equal strict through line, then I want to do the following. I want to return data set dot label, which is basically this item here. So once I did this, I can say here console log line labels, save, refresh, open up developer tab. You can see here now we get 5 arrays, but we see here one that's 2020. If I copy this, we can do another one, comma paste 2021, save, refresh, double comma, not allowed, save, refresh. You can see here now we have 2 line data sets, it recognizes it. Alright, so what I want to do now is I want to get the numbers of that. So what is the ID number of the, or index number of these? So what I'm going to do here is basically convert this again into a the line labels array into a index number. So it's a constant. And then I'm going to say here that line position index equals line labels, which is basically the one we just made, this array. And then we just do another map. You just copy all of this, and I'll call this here our label. And then our label here, function arrow expression, there we are. And then in here, what I want to do is, so if the label is not equal undefined, because we have here multiple undefined that I need to filter out that's later on, but if it's not undefined, I want to measure or check with the index of method to see if the labels here what index number these are here. So what I'm going to do here is return, I'm going to say here the line labels, and the line labels dot index of, we're going to get the label. So if I save this, console log, we should see here now the numbers. Copy that, paste here, save, refresh. Alright, now we're getting the numbers instead of the year. Next thing what I want to do now is this number will be, but everything else should be filtered out. So we're going to filter now. So what I'm going to say here, let clean line position index will be equal to line position index, and then we're going to say here this should be dot filter. We're going to do a filter method because we're going to filter it for every item. You're going to check for that item if it's not equal to undefined. If it is, remove undefined, and if it's not undefined, keep them in there. That's basically what we're doing here. So once we did that, I think we don't even need to do all of this here, just to keep it clean. There we are. So now I can do a console log. I'm just going to grab this, save, refresh. There we are. Now we have index 4 and 5. That's correct. So now we have this. So what I want to do now is that I want these coordinates to be matched here with this here instead of wherever it is now. And this is like 4 coordinates. We need to make sure we trim them down to 3 because that makes sense, of course. Because we only have 3 bars. The last bar should be untouched. So that's very important. So there's 3 right now, but they should be here only. I'm going to remove the tooltip because that is distracting. So I'm going to say comma plugins tooltip. I'm going to say enable false. Save, refresh, So what we're going to do now is getting these here, and the tricky part here is basically that this is dataset 0, dataset 1, dataset 2, and an index for the data point 0. So dataset 0, index 0 for data point, dataset 1, index 0, etc., etc. Same goes here. So that's why we're going to grab all of those items. So we have to loop through this. So how will we do this? Number one, what we want to do here is for, then we're going to say I equals 0, I loop through that. Then what I want to do here is I want to loop through only the clean position index dot length. Then I'm going to say I plus plus. So what I'm really doing here is, because we only have 2 lines here, 2 lines for the data sets, those need to be redrawn with the new x coordinates. So right now we have the 2 data sets. Now we need to loop through every data point. Sorry. So what I'm going to do here is say data dot data sets, and then we're going to say here for each method, and then we're going to say here for every data set comma index. Then I'm going to say a function arrow expression. There we are. So now what I want to do here is I want to loop through this, but what I want here is I want to loop through only these here. We have 2, remember, we have 2 line data sets, we have 3 bar data sets, and we have 1 what should be the total. The total, which is this one here, should not have a line pointing on top of it. So it's only these 3 here. So it needs to be intelligent enough to understand that difference. Alright, so what we're going to do here is the following. I'm going to say if dataset.type is not equal to a line, this is a line, this is a string value, and then what I'm going to do as well, and the index must be smaller, because we have more bars, we have 1 data set more for the bars, so it must be smaller than what exactly? Data.data sets, and here we want to get this, put it in here, and then we're going to make sure that this is an array with the I. Yes, it's a bit complicated. So we have the I that loops in through here, because that's the array. Let's say dot data dot length. That's it. So now we have that, and then we can say here the following. I'm going to put that in here, and then we're going to say here, and this is what we are going to do now, is basically we will say for the line, the x coordinate will be equal to x coordinate of bar of red, blue, yellow. That's what we're doing here. So say chart.getDataset meta, and then the index of this one will be basically the line position index array I. Remember, the I stands for 4 and 5. That's this one here. So it loops through those 2. And then we say here dot data get the index dot x. So once we did this, we're going to say this will be equal to what exactly? Well, it's exactly the same. I'm going to put that in there, and then in here what I need is the index, and then we say here dot data, then we're going to put in here the I dot x. So we're going to loop through the data sets, every one of them, 1, 2, 3, but this will be, first one will be 0, so or 0 to 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, basically, or 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0 data point, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1 data point, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2 data point, etc., etc. So that's how it works basically. So once we have this, we can save that, refresh. All right, so we're getting now this error here, so I just have to double check 148. So we have this here, 148. What's going on? Get dataset meta. All right, you can see here I made a mistake, so my bad. Remove this, because you can see this is the function here. It should be after this. Save, refresh. There we are. Now it works. Let's add up another data set in here. Going to copy, put it in there, 22, and then I'll just make this 3, 3, 3. But I need to make sure that here's 2023. All right, save, refresh. Or was it 23? No, it was 22 here. Yeah, all right, so that is all correct. Am I correct? Yeah, there we are. So that works. So, but what does not work is if I hide this, look what we get. We get this weird response. So I have to make sure that this response is corrected as well. So what I need to do here is the following. I'm going to create an if statement that will check. And the if statement will be, let's see, it should be probably after this if statement. So let's put in some extra space. So we have this if statement. So what I want to do here is going to say here if. What I want to check is if it's hidden, I want to remove those coordinates. So if chart.getDataSetMeta, and then I'm going to say here the index, and what do I want to make sure it's hidden? The bars. If the bars are hidden, the line dot should respond to that correctly. So we say here dot hidden, and that is not equal true. In that case, so basically if it's not hidden, we're going to show this. So then we have that. Else, and I'm doing this on purpose because by default in the beginning it will be undefined because it's not hidden, but it's still not being triggered, so it shows no value. So you just put it here as this. If it's true, it means that it is hidden, or sorry, if it's false, it will be hidden. So that's why. So just follow this structure. Then what I want to do here is I want to make sure we're going to grab what exactly I want to say. These line here will be equal to undefined, and then I also say here for the y value equal to undefined. Save that, refresh. All right, now if I remove one, look at that, that is beautiful. So it understands it and becomes more logical. All right, let's add another item in here. So if we're going to add another item here, let's test this again to make sure this is all correct. Beautiful. So of course I'm assuming then if we have 4 situations here, it will only be based on these 4. Should have never more. However, what we could do here is what would happen if we have another one here, 2024. All right, that works. Or even if I would have additional data here. So imagine I would have here, well, for the red sales, there's an additional data. Blue sales, or what if I say a new yellow sales? Let's put a comma, paste. All right, yellow sales too. And I'll just say you want to, well, I'll just leave it as it is. All right, now we have it like this. If I add up here a value, 1, and as you can see here, it understands it. It is intelligent enough not to give an error anymore. That was my first issue. It will work here, it will add up here. There we are, there we are. Finally, if I add up this, it will be 2024, comma, comma. All right, save, refresh. All right, this should of course not be that long, but that's basically it. I think this looks quite nice. We could do still some fine tuning here, which is, for example, having this line to be only one single line, and when we click on it, it will automatically hide them all together, but that's a custom legend item. I will cover that maybe in another video. This is basically it.